one thing that I think is a big question is whether or not the NRA can be reformed under current leadership. Or, obviously that their argument in court is that it has been reformed and is operating better and doesn't have the same issues. But Wayne LaPierre is at the center of most of these allegations of misuse of funds, and he's only gotten more powerful inside the NRA since then. As far as I could tell, he took the agency into the entire group into bankruptcy effectively on his own. He had to go to the board after the fact to get emergency approval. Board members didn't find out until it broke in the news that happened. And then even just recently, they gave Wayne LaPierre the power to sell off the gun collection that they have at will without board approval.
So that's one where I dug deep into that one. So just to be clear, the NRA by law has to honor any donor restrictions. So items that were donated as you can't sell it, it has to be in the museum, that has to be honored. Items that were donated without restriction, the NRA has the ability to sell. And that items that were donated prior to 2001 are considered unrestricted. The bylaw change that was done streamlined the process because it used to be that the collection committee had to approve a sale. Then it had to go to the finance committee to approve a sale to then be able to be executed by management. And so the bylaw change streamlined that process. But the only firearms that are able to be sold are those that were donated with a open, you can sell it. If you display it, sell it, do whatever you want with it. It's now an asset for the NRA to benefit the NRA. What I've seen most people do is actually donate it to the foundation, and the NRA cannot sell foundation assets for the benefit of the NRA. The assets to the foundation.
Although isn't there a lawsuit over that as well?
There is. That's the DC lawsuit, which is the Attorney General in DC is claiming that the NRA was, I'll just use, these are my words, may not be legally accurate, misappropriating funds from the foundation for the benefit of core NRA.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that's another active lawsuit against them. But that is interesting information. So just so everyone's clear, because this was something that people talked a lot about when it first came out. Who has the power to obviously look, it's a private collection. So the NRA could always sell off and has always sold off some guns that are donated to it, if they're not particularly, worthy of being in the museum or something like that. They have the ability to sell them off and raise funds to complete their mission. I don't think that's particularly controversial. But the thing that was controversial is that it went from being something that had to be board approved to something that Wayne could do, or maybe not him personally, but his office, the executive vice president, could do without getting approval from the board. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that is only for those assets that do not have donor restrictions.
Okay, so he can't sell ones that someone says,
correct.
All right, I'm giving this to you with the stipulation that you have to display it in the museum. So some of the more famous guns that the NRA has,
I'll give you an example.
Can't be sold.
I looked specifically at the bequest of the Peterson collection, which is one of the more famous collections, and that bequest is very, very clear that those firearms are to be displayed as part of the museum and may never be sold or transferred. And so that was part of the. Now I think I'm okay here. That was actually part of the audit to validate that the NRA was in compliance with the restrictions, they are in compliance with the restrictions on donated firearms. That was a specific item addressed in the audit.
Okay. Well, that's good to have the full details on that. I mean, this is kind of an aside. I still think it shows the basic point that Wayne has still gotten more power, not less power, as time has gone along. Since 2019. Now but your main point here is that you're less concerned about a yacht trip that Wayne took in 2016 or something, and then you are about the loss of 1 million members of the last 4 years, or the ballooning legal costs to the point where it's now the top line item, top single line item in the NRA's budget is legal fees for the
other than
administration.
other than
stuff.
fundraising costs, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, and
at least according to their own, the annual meeting, the annual reports that they put out.
And so I'll say part of it is because of the lawsuits, the courts are going to deal with the past expenditures. And as the board is unwilling to make any changes in leadership. And that the only way that you can make a change in leadership, it takes if I remember correctly, it's a 3/4 vote of the board.
Right.
And so when the board nominating process for 20 years has been to bring people on board who are supportive of the current management team, to get 3/4 of that board to make a change in leadership, when all the things came out in 2019, it's pretty clear that they are unwilling or unable to make a change in leadership. And so they're just going to stay the course, and that anybody who does not enthusiastically stay the course gets removed. So
right.
That's not going to get fixed through the current election process or the board process. To me, the only thing that's going to fix that is the court.